That is a zebra on the ice, Bill.
How did he get on the ice?
Amazing.
They still can't get him off the ice. This is crazy.
Here comes all the zebras. It's a zoo out there.
You can't do that. Doesn't matter. Get in the box.
Welcome everyone to Chirping Zebras. Maybe we'll all embrace the zebra side.
Welcome, everyone, to Chirping Zebras, episode 95. Mark Riley alongside Josh Dolan again, sitting in for Gino Binder Jr., who is still a little busy with school vacation. He's here, though, in name with the referee shirt behind Josh. We want to, coming to you from AOA Studios in Beverly, best place to tape anything you're going to tape, and we love these guys here. We want to, off the hop, thank our sponsors. The Referees Crease, your one-stop shop for all your refereeing needs. From scheduling, payment, development, they do it all. Also want to thank Damon Financial Services. Damon, for over 24 years, Damon Financial has helped families and business owners grow and protect their wealth with clear, trusted strategies. From retirement planning and investments to tax-efficient solutions, they deliver no-nonsense advice focused on your goals. Call 508-321-2101 today to schedule your meeting with Damon Financial or find them on damonfinancial.com. Also want to thank Townsend Hockey, our buddy Graham Townsend, and we'll hear about them a little bit more in a little bit. Also want to make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube, because this thing got to work, because I want to quit my day job. Also find us on the social medias, the Instagram, the Facebook, and of course,
the TikTok.
All right, Josh, you're killing it for Gino.
Oh, thank you.
I'm telling you, if you could only
He's going to have to fight me for that TikTok job.
I think he'll be happy to give it up. But find us on those, and if you haven't checked out last episode, Andrew Alberts.
Yeah.
I mean, what a beauty.
I mean, a beauty, great legs. He's
from the knee up.
Yeah.
And if you know, you know. If you watch the episode and you know Andrew,
if not,
you
go
know
watch it.
But Albie is just great, and the work he does with not only the Bruins alumni but also with Warrior for Life Fund.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to the Warrior for Life Fund game coming up against the Bruins alumni.
Yes.
Be January 10th.
I've had that circled on the calendar since the last one.
Yes, I'm very excited to be out there with the Seals.
I'm so excited they're coming here now because we went to Montana, we went to Virginia and hung out with those guys. Now they come to us.
Now they're coming to us. So we're excited about that. But Albie will be there playing for the Bruins, and that lineup is going to be like last year too. I know Bergie and Tim Thomas is coming back. There's a lot of guys that are going to be back.
Johnny Boychuk,
Darth Quater.
Yeah,
that's Johnny Rocket.
A lot of large humans.
He was great too. We had him on the podcast the last year when they were in town. So
yeah, he hopped on with us, and I've never felt so small before. Like he was sitting in the chair between us. He made it was a normal sized chair for us, but he looked like he was sitting in a kid's chair.
And Seidenberg.
Seidenberg,
right? He came on. Andrew Ferentz, who we love.
Yeah.
Just hilarious, telling his story about how he flipped Montreal off. And of course, Albie came on.
Albie, yeah.
And Aaron Bedosian, former Navy SEAL. Yep. Captain Crowley. Just a crew and a half, and of course Frank Simonetti, who is a huge fan of the show, and a multi appearance guest. Talked about that with Albie.
Yeah.
Because he was...
We come up with a lot of ideas with Albie.
Albie's an idea guy.
He's an idea, yes.
He's an idea guy. So we got to get the zebra coats for the repeat offenders, I guess. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that within the first 5 minutes of YouTube, but we're doing all right. Gino's not here, so the chances of dropping an F-bomb go way down. No, but he'll be back. He'll be back next episode. So, but today, our guest, so excited about having him on, finally getting him up from Florida. He's in town, and just he's known as the Godfather of Boston comedy for a good reason. Don Gavin, just an absolute talent. I mean, on and off stage.
Yeah, there's really no words that can describe how excited we are, because it's like we were saying during the episode. You were saying it's like having
Andy Van Ellemont.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, like a white whale.
Yes.
If you will. Gino always says that. My white whale. Yeah. And so it's great. So definitely you want to check this episode out for sure. history of Boston and comedy and just incredible.
Yeah.
So without further ado, let's watch our conversation with Don Gavin. Don Gavin, welcome to the Zebras. Great to have you here.
Well, good to be here, babe.
You now I got to tell the story right off the hop. Before I started to do comedy, I came to see you at Nick's.
Right.
Now, you grew up with my brother, my oldest brother,
Sure.
Teddy, and I'm sure you'll have plenty to say about him. You usually do, but I came up to you afterwards and I said, "Hey, Don Gavin, Mark Riley, Teddy Riley's brother," and you said, "I'm thinking of doing comedy," and you said, "Why?" And my answer was, "I like making people laugh."
Right.
And your answer was, "I'll let you." And I was like, "What?" And you explained why after, but it was just absolutely hilarious.
You have my blessing.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I got your blessing. And but you grew up West Roxbury.
Right.
And
right.
And you went to CM.
Yep.
He went to BC High.
Right.
And
Yeah, we were in grammar school together for
Yeah.
eight years. And Mark's brother was very, very intelligent.
Yes.
And I played the other end of the spectrum. So that was it.
I would argue you don't. You pretend to, but
We had a thing back then. The Catholic schools had they give out 2 scholarships for anybody who went through the 8 grades of grammar school, and free scholarship. And when they announced it turned out that 2 people that won the whole thing for the whole archdiocese were both from our class.
Yeah.
And it was this guy, Paul Shires. I don't know if you know him, but another real intelligent guy. And they announced it, and then the nun announced it, and she goes, "Oh, and Paul Shires," and it's polite applause. And then she goes, "And the other one is Don Gavin," and the nun goes, "You're shitting." And the people, my peers, whatever, they're just going, "Really? Really?" I said, "Oh, he probably knows somebody." That was the thing. Giving the scholarship. So I had to live that down forever. And then they put me in all these advanced classes, which I didn't ask to be in. Oh, you'll get college credit. Yeah, right here. So no college credit at all. Oh, I end up with like a B+ average instead of an A- average, and got no scholarships. Well, you got a few, but to like community colleges.
And you taught for a while.
I did. I didn't teach much, but I did teach for a while. 12 years. I taught in a vocational school, and in those days, not like now, the vocational school was a dumping ground. Kids that were either troubled or in juvie hall or this or that, and troublemakers. But now, like if you go into culinary arts and stuff, you got to take an exam and show that you're really interested in what you're doing. But in those days, so they used to be in shop one week and class the other week, and it was tooth and nail. It was really difficult. I used to make them wash their hands before I gave them the books. Yeah. I was not their favorite. We'll put it that way.
What did you teach?
Very little. No, I taught English as a foreign language, but they didn't know that. Yeah, and I remember kids saying, "Dead seriously, goes, what do we need this shit for?" I go, "Oh, I don't know. Maybe you're going to talk at some point in your life, and what do we need this?" Yeah. And then, but by the end of it, I was very, very ready to get out, and a couple of kids kind of challenged me and stuff like that. And you could in those days you couldn't smoke in the school, of course, but in the men's room, so you go, "Mr. Gavin's coming," and then they'd put up the cigarette, and I had one kid blow smoke in my face. So I had everybody else leave, and I took him and I pushed him into his locker. And if you remember, those are the skinny lockers.
Yeah,
this kid was skinny too, so it worked out. And he gets in the locker, and he says, "Just stay there, cool off." So I went back to my class, came back. I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "What's your combination?" He goes, "I don't know." I go, "You don't know?" I said, "I made you write it on the inside of your book. You're in my homeroom." He goes, "Oh, yeah." He said, "You got any matches?" I go, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Well, it's dark in here. I have to." So this went on and on and
him in the
on.
locker?
Yeah, he's in there. You see smoke coming out of the thing, and all he was concerned with was, "Am I going to be out by lunch?" That was the only thing he was worried about. That was it.
That's talk about different times, right? You as a teacher put a kid in a locker.
Right. Yeah.
That is outstanding.
Yeah. And then I had to go to the principal to get the kid's combination. And the principal was going, why don't you just ask him? He's in class. I go, well, he's kind of in class. He's near the class, you know. There's that. Yeah.
Well, he should have known his own locker, not combo, right?
Well, he
That's
shouldn't
on
have.
him.
He said, well, I never locked it. I said, in 3 years? He goes, no. So that was the deal. But,
So Riley, when you started teaching, did you ask him permission for that too? No.
But
he was on his own then.
There's a few kids over the years I wouldn't mind putting in a locker, but that's all right. So from there, how did you find comedy?
Well, I was a bartender for many, many years, a lot of different places. And I was kind of a wise guy bartender. And
Really?
Yeah, really. Shocking. And I remember we had, it was in Braintree I was working, and at that time Longwood was the golf tournament, not a golf, tennis tournament. So 4 preppy guys come in those starched whites and everything like that. And they said, can you put on the tennis? And I was watching the basketball game because, you know, I like to wager. And it was Mississippi State against Tulane or something like that. People don't even know what the schools were.
Right.
And I said, well, I'm watching this. And I'm bartending, you know. And it's 4 and they're going to have dinner. I go, no. I said, and I made them give me $20 a piece. So I did turn the channel after that. And then I had people come in. And they said, 4 guys, they go, what's your cheapest beer? I said, root beer. Get the fuck up.
So now I remember my first time on stage, which was at Nick's.
Yeah.
Kevin Knox.
Oh, wow.
God rest his soul. He was the host. What was your first time on stage?
Well, I tried to do it. I'd never been on stage. I'd never been on stage. I was never in a play or any of that thing. So when I was down the Cape bartending, I decided, because I was reasonably funny, and I said, well, I'll put a show on and charge, I don't know, $3, something like that. And we had over 100 people at the thing, and I had some Irish group, the O'Reilly brothers came in and they played, and I told them it was going to be a 2-hour show. Well, you and I know there's no such thing as a 2-hour show, but I didn't know that. So I had about 11 minutes, and the band had about 6 minutes, and then we ran out of stuff. And I was doing things like, anybody have an unusual scar? Can you come up and show it? Like, the guy had a 3rd nipple, so that was extending it a little bit. But so that was my first time. That was it. And then in the old days, which people don't understand, in 1978 when I started, there were no comedy clubs. There was 1 or 2, Catch in New York, and a couple of things in L.A. and maybe Chicago, but there was if you said I'm going to a comedy show, people go, what are you talking about? There was no such thing. Like when Leno and the people like that started, they were working at Blindstrom's or the Playboy Club or something, but there was no, per se, comedy clubs. So Barclay and Downs are the 2 guys. They started a comedy club at the Charles Street Playhouse. And it was 1 night a week, and obviously the night would be Thursday. I don't know why that came up, but they did it Thursday. And you had to do an audition to get hired. And I went in, and these 2 guys, and I said, "Wow, if this is the brain trust that's dictating my career, I'm in a lot of trouble, But they did hire me, and I was funny from the very beginning. A lot of people talk about struggling. I was very funny. 4 times in a row, and then they called me and asked if I could fill in that night. And I said, because I had written some stuff. So I tried all new stuff. It was horrific.
Really?
It's beyond horrible. But people say, what happens when you bomb? I don't bomb, because I've been doing it for 45 years. But even if one bit doesn't work, you're very conscious of that. So this time, I just thought I'd spew out 10 minutes of new comedy, No, not at all. That was it. Yeah, and, the mouth dry, the sweaty palms, the whole thing. And then I said, go back into the stuff you already did. And then it was okay. But I got rescued. And so at the time that I died, Lenny Clark and Sweeney and some of those guys had already been in it for a while. So Lenny and I didn't get along, And he was saying, where have you been working? I go, I've never been on stage before. He goes, oh, yeah. So we get into arguments. And so that night, I died a miserable death. And he came up, he goes, that was a good set. I go, fuck you. And we went out, there's an alley out in the back, and we had a fist fight.
No way.
Yeah, on the ground, rolling around in the water, rain and blood and the whole thing. And Timmy Birmingham, friend of Lenny's, came out, and he said, well, he broke the thing up, big guy, and I said, what's this all about? And he said I had a good set, and I said, it was horrible. And he says to Lenny, he had a horrible set. Why are you busting his balls? I go, you don't have to agree with him, But we became friends after that. So.
Yeah. Lenny, former guest on the show.
Yeah.
Lenny came on. And now, so in the 80s is when the big boom happened in Boston.
Right.
So, and the Ding Ho, obviously, everyone kind of knows the Ding Ho. Was that about that time, early 80s?
Yeah, 82, 83, in that era. The Charles Playhouse, the Comedy Connection, was actually a pretty good room. It was set up well, but that was the only show in town. So on that Thursday night, there'd be Jack Gallagher, myself, maybe Wright, and a bunch of us would go in and watch the other acts. We called ourselves the Nod-Ons because we were kind of behind the stage then.
So, wait a minute. You and Wright is Stephen Wright,
Yeah.
right? Which everyone, brilliant. Yeah. And so you guys were the Nod-Ons.
Nod-Ons.
That's fucking
Sit
crazy.
at the bar. I said, we get a better show at the bar than they have up there. But that was the only venue.
Yeah.
So when we started the Ding Ho, which was called the Springfield Street Saloon, it was an old-fashioned neighborhood bar,
Yeah.
And the regulars were there, but we were told that we couldn't basically throw them out. And whatever they were charging for admission then, $2.50 or whatever it was, but we couldn't get rid of them. They would sit at the bar with their backs, never turned around to look at the show, and all you'd hear occasionally, "Shut the fuck up!" And that was it. So that was the beginning of the career. That's it. I mean, you'd be going along, it was going pretty good. Who are these assholes? This thing, and it's all the buddy guys.
Yeah.
And finally, either they passed away or we got rid of them somehow. But they wouldn't even turn their back. That's the whole time.
Oh, they're still out there at shows.
Oh, yeah.
They're still out there.
Do any show with a bar and you get that.
Yeah,
the local people that are like, yeah, I don't want a comedy show. What are you doing?
And when I went back there later, we had a couple of reunion things, but I went back and I went, oh my God, I forgot how small the room was, because again, I had never been on stage before. So to me, it was the Coliseum. And
Yeah.
We went back and went, holy shit, yeah. But we had phenomenal comedians and very diverse. And the reason is we didn't know what the hell we were doing. It wasn't like a L.A. theme or a style of New York. It was just, whatever we did. And I started the thing that I would host and be the headliner.
Yep.
So I would host, and if Josh came up and was my first guest, and he did good, I'd, let him do a little bit extra. And if you came up and died, I had to go up and say, yo, that was great. One of these things. But that style of hosting and then closing, and they said, wow, that's brilliant. I go, I don't know. I thought that's how you did it. But it turned out that was not how you did it. The headliner would come on at the end.
Yeah.
In fact, they didn't even like you walking through the crowd because it kind of ruined the aura of this, over this. So that was the deal. So we just started doing a number of shows there. Lenny had his own show. I had mine. Sweeney had his own show. Jack Gallagher, all of us different nights.
Yeah.
And Sweeney used to run a open mic on Sunday nights, and everybody would come to that. It was sold out every week, and so every comedian, because they weren't working anywhere else, they'd show up too. So it was quite a night, and I was teaching at that time, so I'd end up getting home at 2:30 in the morning, getting up at 6 to go teach. I wasn't that good a teacher at that time, and my concern was with doing the comedy.
Yeah.
And people always say, if you're in a life-threatening thing, your life passes through your eyes, and But so I was driving home to Weymouth, and I fell asleep after school. And obviously I wasn't shit-faced. It was 3 p.m. 4 maybe it would have been different, but 3. So, and I'm driving. I go over, the side of the road with the metal things, the stanchions, and my car was riding that, bing, 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 and hitting the things, and all I'm thinking about is, oh man, how am I going to get to the show tonight, And I went down the embankment, my head went through the windshield, and I'm down right near where Braintree Lumber is down that way, and I don't know if they found me like hours later, I was still down there, but hair and blood. And I had to go to the social hospital. But my concern was not about anything except how am I going to get to the show?
Yeah.
So that's kind of when I realized I was a comedian.
That reminds me of a story. Mike Baker. I don't know if you remember Mike.
Yeah, sure.
He was a Boston cop, and
Another
unfortunately...
CM guy.
CM guy, Dorchester kid, and, unfortunately took his life a few years back. But he told a similar story like that. I was doing a show with him, I think in Franklin, this was years ago, and he had pulled his revolver on a guy that had a machete that was going to come at him. And he said, and I'm like, what? And he goes, the whole time I'm thinking, don't make me shoot you. I won't be able to do Riley's show tomorrow night. And he actually goes, I said it out loud to the guy. The guy looked at me like, what the hell are you talking about? So that made me think of that. It was just funny.
Yeah, so I was gonna ask, like, since the comedy scene, like you said, didn't even exist in Boston, and you're teaching, you're doing comedy, like there was no like business model for it. And so like what was your like, was it just like, oh, this is fun and like I make some extra money, or were you like, I kind of want to make this full time?
I was pretty much driven to it.
Yeah.
I had taken a sabbatical. In those days, if you taught for 7 years, you could take a half year off at full pay or a year off at half pay. And I took the half year thing, and I went across the country to see if I was really a comedian, because I'd only been doing it about a year. And I went with this friend, Martin Olson. We drove from Boston, and he has the gift of gab, and every place we stopped along the way, like in Chicago, there'd be a show, and he was able to talk the people into having me on and which now it would be unheard of. It's like going to Laugh Boston and say, I want a headline tonight. They go, what are you talking about? Right. But he was able to talk to people into the whole thing. And I drove my car the entire way, all the way to San Francisco. We got to the Golden Gate Bridge, and he says, hey, pull over. I want to bring this baby in. I said, you haven't driven 1 fucking mile the whole way. You're going to bring the baby in? Yank it, please. So I learned in that time that I guess I am a comedian.
Yeah.
So I end up in San Francisco, and they had this competition, which I was unaware of, and there were 40 people that night, and it turned out they picked one person to make it into this showcase thing, and that was me. But people said, you came all the way from Boston for this? I go, I don't even know what this is. I had no idea, And it turned out most of the people were handpicked and this and that. I mean, like Robin Williams came in second. That's an example. Dana Carvey had won it, I think, then. And the names of people. Kevin Pollak was the guy that was in with my time. He was a pretty good stand-up, actually. And but that was kind of the center of the competitions. Now are everywhere. But in those days, that was the one. Yeah. And it was a pretty good money prize. And I hung around for a couple of weeks and got work, and people were gracious. I stayed at a couple of people's houses for days, and who I'm still friends with. So it was more of a community.
Yeah.
And that differed too. If you went to New York, everybody was kind of this way, just about themselves.
Yeah.
Whereas in Boston, we were more open, and then, they called me the Godfather. I actually did help people out. I'd go to their shows and take notes and maybe tape it and go over it. So I did kind of help out. Whereas some people would just go, yeah, that was it. So that was my giving nature. That doesn't exist anymore, but it was nice then.
Yeah, no, it's and I can say personally, there's probably 5-6 times of things you told me that completely changed my approach.
Yeah.
Or one time you changed my act. We were at the Kowloon. and you said after the first show, and it's funny, every time I tell stories, I have to sound like you. I don't know why. It just happens. And what's funny is people who know you, when I do it, they laugh. And I'll tell stories to people that don't know you, and they're like, what are you doing? I go, I got to talk like this, all right? But you had said, why do you do that joke at the end? You have that one in the middle, and then you kind of bring it down. Why don't you just, and you said, not tonight, but next show, because we used to do two shows, I did it, and it was like it completely changed the way I went off a stage. And it was just, and that's only one example. There's a few things in Canton. We were doing a show.
Yeah.
300 people. And this one table wouldn't laugh. And I got off stage so pissed off at table like 10, and you were like, what the fuck are you doing? What are you talking about? Everyone else was laughing. It's like, don't focus on the people who aren't laughing.
No.
Ever since then, I see someone who's not laughing, and I don't even look at them again.
And I have the same thing, but it's because you told me, and it came from so it's going down, you know.
No, I try to, because you and others, like Kevin Knox was one, that I try to pass that on.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm just one podcast host. Joe Rogan has said you were crucial in his development. I mean, some of the
Bill Burr,
some of the biggest names in comedy you've influenced.
Yeah.
There's no question.
Yeah. Yeah, a whole bunch of them came up under me. So, but again, I had time to spend and talk to them. A lot of times people are above that, you know. So that's something I've always worked at, you know, especially once you travel and, you know, meeting luminaries. Yeah, that first impression, you always want to go. When you like someone, like I like Josh, will say, and then that's... You know,
we'll say
apocryphal
for this example.
As an example, yes.
For this show.
And I'm hoping, you know, you're a good, cool guy. And then I found out he is a cool guy. Well, that's nice. And then I found out he's a dick. And from that point, he's written off for my whole life, you know?
Right.
Because he was, who's the one? I don't even want to name names, but I will if I can remember it. Who's the political guy? I shouldn't be going this direction. Political guy, has a TV show for years and years and years.
Jon Stewart.
Has he got combed back like this now?
Bill Maher.
Yeah, Bill Maher.
Bill Maher.
Yeah. So Leno introduced me to him, and Leno gave him a nice intro, you know, from Boston, this, that. He goes, yeah, okay. And so to this day, yeah, okay, that's what I get to deal with him. He was just a registered dick.
Yeah.
Well, that's believable.
The Book of Dicks he was in, Chapter 1.
Book of Dicks. Chapter 1. Townsend Hockey, our sponsor. At Townsend Hockey, they don't just build great hockey players, they build great people with discipline, respect, leadership. On and off the ice, they train character, they grow confidence, and they inspire a lifelong love of the game. Because at Townsend Hockey, it's not just about the scoreboard, it's about who you become. They build leaders, young people with heart, grit, and integrity because they know that the lessons learned on the ice, discipline, respect, resilience, are the same ones that shape strong character for life. At Townsend Hockey, they don't just develop great hockey players, they develop great people. Townsend Hockey, join them and become more than just a player, become your best self. Townsend Hockey, practice until you get it right, practice until you can't get it wrong. Find out more information on townsendhockey.com.
So yeah, like Joe Rogan saying that like you were a huge influence on him, and like I think like your approach to like helping people, like he's done that a lot to other comedians. Was there anyone that like you looked up to? Because like you were saying there was nothing there. Like who did you try and model?
There weren't that many influences in Boston except, you know, your peers, because there wasn't, again, this was a brand new turf, you know?
Yeah.
And there were some great comedians that came out. And again, so many different styles. Paula Poundstone, and Jack Gallagher, I mentioned his name a number of times. He was a teacher. When I first started, if there were 30 comedians, about 15 of them were teachers. Because, you know, you used to be in front of people and of being either trying to be a performer or getting rejected or whatever it might be. So that was a training ground.
Now they're all Uber drivers.
There's actually a lot of teachers now, too. It seems like it's kind of, I guess, like,
full circle?
Certain fashion trends. It's come back.
Yeah.
Because I know when I started, there wasn't many teachers at the time. That was, 26 years ago, I think now, 27 years. There was a few, but not as many as there are now. I mean, they have tours now, like Angry Teachers Tour or whatever. I mean, it's just ridiculous, you know?
And the influence were not people that I knew directly there. To me, the two stanchions of comedy were Richard Pryor and George Carlin.
Yeah.
So those two were my direct influences. And Robert Klein, who was a former teacher, that was another influence. And they kind of showed the way that you didn't have to do grandmother jokes, mother-in-law jokes. You could just talk about things. So they were the major influence. And to this day, people say, who's your favorite comedians now? Well, they're all pretty much dead, But, but that was, Pryor would take a subject that I would give to any one of us here, and we might get 3 minutes out of it, and he'd get 11 minutes that was flawless. And I'd go, holy moly, And Colin could do the same thing too.
Yeah.
But again, being a rookie, I realized how much time they spent to get that to be so right on, so perfect.
Yeah.
Because the using of the words, and who was it? Mark Twain said that the proper word is the difference between lightning and a lightning bulb. Lightning bug. So, even though it's the same word or this,
Right.
how you deliver it.
Yeah.
So that was something you can always. I to this day, I'm amazed that most comedians don't watch the other comedians, because you can learn something from a bad comedian.
Yeah.
Or you can learn something from a good comedian.
Because back then it was hard to even when I first started thinking about doing stand up, which was 2010, there was stuff online that you could look up and watch people, but there wasn't as much, I feel as there is now.
Oh, sure.
But back then you had what was out, you had Pryor, Carlin.
Yeah,
and
they
then
do
there
2
was-
specials a year or something like that.
Yeah,
Other than that,
and that's what you had to study. But then going to the clubs and watching them,
right.
I feel like.
And the only comedy that you would see in those days were on Steve Allen or Johnny Carson or something like that. You see a 5-6 minute bit of someone.
Yeah.
But there weren't. It didn't exist. It came out of the void. From nothing to shoo.
It's funny because one of the things you told me was always watch, always stay and watch the headliner.
Yeah.
And not obviously for material, but for just because Live on the Sunset Strip to me was just one of the pinnacles of comedy specials, right? And I'm sure there's kids now, younger comedians now, that never even watched it, never even heard of it.
Never even heard of Judge
And
Fallon.
it's funny because I'll do a show and the opener will go and then he's got to run off to do a 5-minute set somewhere and you're like, that wasn't what we did back in the day. It was you learned from watching masters like yourself. It was just, even just like you said, a word. Changing a word from the middle to the end, that's something that you watch and you see kind of that develop or happen. And it's and then you think, I have a bit that I switched that word and it makes it funny.
Yeah, it's you can adapt the science of it to your own stuff. And I feel like it's knowing all these NHL guys that we know. I remember Rick Middleton showing me just moving my hand a little bit on a stick, and I was like, oh, I can stick handle way better. And it's just moving a word can do the same thing.
Cool.
Yeah. And so would you say Carlin and Pryor were your favorites? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And one of my favorites was always Buddy Hackett. I just thought he could tell a story, just his story, the way he delivered it, the way he looked, everything.
Right.
I don't know. I loved him when he was on Johnny Carson because I was a huge Carson fan. And I think one thing that's missing, and you could talk to this better than I could, Carson seemed to launch some careers.
Sure.
Stephen Wright was the first one from Boston, right?
Right.
Now especially, it isn't that way. But even, kind of 15 years ago, it wasn't. It seemed like that kind of went away.
Well, Carson was the best at it because he would give you every week he would have a new comedian on.
Yeah.
And I think once he got out of the biz, I think many of these hosts were afraid to have somebody on funnier than them.
Yeah.
And I think that hurt. And in the old days with Carson, you would look forward. I think it was Thursday night that he would have this. So you already knew somebody was going to come on, and you learn about these people through that 5, 6, 7 minutes.
Yeah. Do you think that's because Carson wasn't a comedian, stand-up comedian, so he didn't have that?
He realized how to be a host, and other people never got that thing. I'll give you an example. I know we're friends with Conan O'Brien and stuff like that. Conan doesn't let the person talk a lot. He just jumps in and starts trying to be funny while the guy's telling the story.
Yeah.
That's not a host.
Right.
So, and they're trying to get their own agenda, and you got a guy that's on. Let him talk. I'll give Letterman credit that when you do this sit down with him, he goes, "So what's been happening?" That's what he says. He doesn't say specific this or that. They just what's been. So that means you can go any direction you want. So that's a smart thing.
Yeah. I think that kind of like that position has also kind of changed because, like you were saying, like how the medium that Johnny Carson had was kind of like he could launch a career by just having someone on. And it's not so much like doing stand-up now. Now I feel like it's like if you get on Rogan and you're good, I mean, the pop isn't as big anymore, but like Kill Tony, like if you do well on Kill Tony or those ones, I feel like it's just kind of like it's moved over to like a different format a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, certainly. It's, people, when, and I'm old, so and I've never been one to adapt to, like I don't text. I don't.
You don't.
No, I accept text. You can send me a text, but I'm not texting you back.
Can confirm.
That's just one example. But so that when I was asked, I don't know, a couple of years ago, someone said, "How many followers do you have?" And I'm going, "You mean like stalkers?" And it turns out, you get so many contacts, whatever, I don't know what the terms are, 320,000 people, I don't know. But that's how people sell seats now. And it's we know, a lot of these people to me aren't funny, but they've got all these followers, so,
Yep. And that's kind of, I think, one of the things that's kind of made it difficult when you're, I don't want to say a true stand-up, but if you can, do an hour on stage, a lot of these guys that are funny on YouTube or, they
12 minutes.
do the 3-second clips, 3-minute clips on, Instagram or whatever the platform, and then everyone wants to go see him, and they show up, and it's like after 10 minutes, they're like, this guy's fucking terrible.
Right.
And that hurts everyone, and I know guys that have, Boston guys that have, 1,500 followers, and they're funnier than anyone out there with 300,000 followers.
Yeah.
I've always said not the funny, like, especially recently, not the funniest people are on TV.
Well, I thought, when I began doing it, I thought the funniest guy would be, the guy, the guy that would be, more famous or more money or this or that. And that didn't pan out. I found out that was not the case. But that was it. But we're talking about, like Seinfeld says, it matter how famous you might be, when you work in front of a live audience, they'll give you leeway for 4 or 5 minutes. And after that, if you're not funny, they come, and it's David Spade of all people. I love quotes from people that, even if I don't respect who they have, and David Spade said, every show you do is an audition, every show. Because there are people that like you have seen you, but there's people that haven't seen you. And they may be judgmental going, yeah, let's see how good this guy is. Or they might be going, gee, I hear this guy is good. So they may be on your side or not. He said, but it's an audition. Those people, you have to win them over. It's not just thrown in the can. Every show is an audition. And I think that's a great quote, You can't mail it in,
No.
Yeah.
No. And it's funny you bring up, because I've heard stories of this. Joe Rogan's talked about it. A few people. Colin Quinn, he experienced it firsthand. People would come in from outside of Boston, and there'd be a murderer's row put on in front of them. You, Sweeney, Kenny Rogerson, and then, I think it was something like, not provincial, but Boston is Boston, right? So it's like, oh, you think you're funny? Well, go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Well, the overall feeling was that Boston was very, very aggressive and very in your face, and it was. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
And when these people came in, outsiders, we call them, that meant anybody that lived further away than Somerville, and so we'd try to beat their ass, on stage, And Richard Lewis was one. He was crying. Joyce Coy reviewed him, and she said, she went to see him 2 nights in a row, and I had opened one night, Sweeney had opened another night, and she goes, I think they have the order of the comedians wrong. I said, the other guy should be opening the show for the 2 good comedians. So, and he was terribly upset about that. He turned out, I met him a number of times. He was a nice enough guy, but and Colin Quinn was one. This the story that when he bombed on stage, and he gets off stage. I mean, they hated him. He got up there and immediately the intro. He said, "Don't mention New York." And of course, the intro was, and he said directly from the. So they hated him. He gets off stage, and the audience, because they thought they were going to attack me. So there was the sound booth. He hid in the sound booth. He stayed in there for 2 more comedians. He wouldn't come out because he didn't want to walk through the crowd. And Chance Langton took him out of the thing, put his arm around him. He goes, "No, he's okay. He's okay." And he walked him through the crowd.
That's amazing. And Boston is really the only place like that, right? I mean,
yeah.
I find anyway, like the audiences here, and I don't know, maybe this is why a lot of Boston comedians are so good. They don't even get. It's like, oh, my uncle could do comedy.
Oh, sure.
The fuck are you gonna do?
Yeah.
That's the where New York, it's kind of like they'll give you a chance, and if you're not good, but then they're on you. Boston, they're on you right from the hop.
Well, Don Mayer did well, didn't he? And
Dom always killed here.
Yeah.
But he kills everywhere. So because he had a great act and a great attitude, He fit right in.
Yeah.
He was a Philly guy, which is kind of if you have a second aggressive town, that's it.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that's why Boston people hate New York and Philly so much, because they're kind of like us.
Yeah. Philly especially.
And people from Boston like this weather here. I live in Florida now. I'm fucking freezing right now in here, and so we're always against it. There's always either the weather or there's this or that, and so we're aggressive, but for a reason.
Yeah, it's cold.
Try to survive.
we're angry for a reason.
We're waiting for June.
It's true.
Looking forward to spring that week. Wow.
That week. Now, one thing I'd love to get your take on. Sometimes people say, well, if you're not going last, you should take your foot off the gas and not leave something for the headliner. And I always thought, bullshit. If they can't follow me, they shouldn't be going after me.
Right. No, I totally agree. I've had people say, when I was, David Brenner was one nice enough guy, and his manager or whatever, and I was opening for him on the road, and he said, what, can you lessen it up? Can you do that? And I go, no. No, I can't. I said, that's what I do for a living. No. It's like asking a baseball player, why don't you swing at some little shitty pitches, I've spent a lot of time to get here to be able to swing at the good pitches. So, but yeah, people have said that. I've never done it, but just, let me tank so the other guy who's making more money can look better, please.
I learned that from you.
David Brenner, again, rest in peace, but I was with this agency, Spotlight, then, which was a big deal. That if you're a comedian, you should be with that agency. I mean, everybody was in. So, but I opened for him, at the Golden Nugget out in Vegas, a couple places. And after the first night, he asked to meet with me in the afternoon. He says, "Here's the deal. I can't follow you." He goes, "How about if I give you?" He asked me what I was getting paid, and he said, "Well, how about if I double what you get, and you close the shows?" And I said, he goes, "Yeah, you only have to do 25 minutes, not like you can do an hour." But he says, I can't go after you. And then next day he gave me the $2,300, and now we became friends.
Wow,
he was nice about
awesome.
it. Yeah, as opposed to saying, why don't you tank? Yeah, why don't you bite me?
Well, I mean, there's not many shows you don't go last.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
I was told. Well, you actually told me the one person. You said there's a few people I wouldn't want to follow. Actually, there's only one for me.
Yeah.
You said Patty Ross.
Oh, yeah.
Who just is just my favorite female comedian of all time for me.
That's me. Sorry,
New phone.
That's quite a ringtone you have there.
Sweeney.
Sweeney. We got a call-in show now. We can have a call-in. Sweeney's calling into the show. You could have answered it if you want. He's probably worried about you getting it right.
That's what it is. I'm sure.
Right? That's what it is.
And I told him exactly where I was going, but that's all right.
No, and the funniest thing is he goes, he said my name. You're like, yeah, I'm sitting next to him. So.
But you mentioned Patty Ross. Yeah, she's not doing 12 physically now, but she was, brilliant. And Rogerson, when he was on or is on, no, thank you. I don't want to go after that. I used to do the fishing tournament with Havlicek like 20 years in a row. So I'd bring a different comedian, and then I'd bring Mark. And we had
Jimmy Dunn and me were the two that came down one time.
Huh?
Jimmy Dunn was the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we had complaints. I remember that. That's how I'll leave it at that.
Well, wait a minute. First of all, I love it. This is one of my favorite stories. You introduced me to the Demoulas family.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And now they went to my brother as a dentist forever.
Right.
You know, and they thought my brother was, you know, he was
Whose teeth didn't he clean?
Jesus, right? And you go, this is Mark Riley. Very funny. You wouldn't know it by his act. It's like, but then you opened the show with like 20 minutes, and then you bring me up, and I'm like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? And I think I went dirty.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was the problem. I didn't know what to do. I hadn't been doing it that long.
Yes. Right.
But then we did a show at the Tin Roof or someplace. I don't know.
Where?
It was the Hot Tin Roof, or I don't know what the hell the place was.
On the Vineyard.
You had me host.
Yeah.
And I did too much time in between you and Jimmy. That was the biggest mistake I ever made.
Yeah.
Oh, he shit all over me. it was,
Sure you got the right guy?
oh, no, I do. I'll never forget that. Ever since then, I'm like, how much time do you want? I ask, no
Right,
matter who
right,
on the show,
right.
even if I'm headlining, hosting,
Yeah.
I'll go, how much time you want me to do before?
Is that why you end for 15 minutes with?
Yep, it's true. Now, you've been in a bunch of movies.
Couple, yeah.
Yeah, a couple. What was your favorite one to work on?
It's funny, all the movies I've been in, I had never played anything funny. You know, I was either like a lawyer, a lot of times a bartender, sometimes a judge.
You're a
Yeah.
cop in
Cop in a
Fever
number of
Pitch,
them.
right?
Then I put a thug on a couple other ones. But I never said one thing funny ever. I don't know if they knew who I was, but that was it. Yeah.
Is that swag from
that's from-
being in Shallow Hal?
Yeah, Shallow Hal. I played Jack Black's boss and fire him, and then they have to rehire him. And he was a piece of work. But, you know, when you're sitting around, movies are basically sitting around.
Yeah.
And so you'd be there, and he's playing with this guitar. He didn't speak at all. He just did it, and then we go into action, and he'd go back to doing this. And go, yeah. So I didn't learn much from him. And then, you know, I'm a brilliant, I'm a seer, actually. And I said, this guy's going nowhere.
You went a few places.
With the guitar too.
It's funny because you haven't played anyone funny, and why? Why wouldn't they put you
No idea.
in the comedic role?
I don't know.
I mean, that's
I do not know.
wild.
Well, that's because they don't want to be upstaged. That
That could be it.
Not sure. but you can take all the movies you've been in, and you can take like a pee break, but 3 minutes, and that's it. That's all. That's the amount of time I've been on this. So. But they pay pretty good. I get residual checks. Or I did. Or I still do, I guess. And you used to play like Liar's Poker. You know, you take and see if it, you know, if it's 6, 5. You know, if it's going to be $700, $70, $7. And I have on my wall at home 2 of them for a penny. I got a penny. It was 3 cents, but they took 2 cents out for taxes. And but on my wall, yeah, 1 cent. Cost them 45 cents to send it. And, yeah,
Did you claim that?
I deposited one of them for a penny. I intentionally went, and the guy goes, "This is for a penny." I go, "Yeah, I know that. That was part of the joke."
I would like it now, please.
Yeah, how do you want that?
You threw that. This is from a movie. Like, oh, you played a big role.
It's a Hollywood penny.
Now, you're a big sports guy,
Yeah,
and basketball is your
college basketball. Yeah.
college
I love-
basketball.
Yeah.
Because you like to gamble a little bit.
I dabble.
Dabble.
Dabble, lost a house and a car and a wife, but I dabble.
That was a heavy dabble. Yeah. What nowadays, like back in the day, it was bookies, right?
Yeah.
Now you got. I mean, I could you could pull out. Well, you couldn't pull out your phone, but I could pull out my phone and bet.
Well, that's how I have to do it. But that's been it's been bad for me because you got to punch the things in. Whereas before you used to talk to a guy, and now you hit say you bet the over in a game, and I hit under, and I've done it 15 times. I've made a mistake. 13 times I've lost the bet. And meanwhile I'm watching the game, cheering for something to happen, and it turned out I bet it wrong. So I have the other team. I'm not the worst, though. Steve Sweeney, my bookie, we had a bookie in those days, and he calls me and says, he goes, Sweeney's as a guaranteed winner this afternoon. I go, how can you, what do you mean a guaranteed winner? He goes, no question he's going to win. I go, how? He goes, well, Philadelphia Eagles are playing. He took the Eagles, and then he took Minnesota, too. He took both sides. So one of them has to win, so he's got a guaranteed winner.
So I know back in the 80s, like during the comedy boom, like a lot of the, I only know of the Bruins because of talking to them and LB and Cam and stuff.
Yeah, we
like
were all pretty tight then. They used to be. They were big comedy fans, and they were good.
So with the gambling, were you ever like, hey, can you throw the game?
No, that never came up. They were around a lot. They used to come into the shows quite a bit.
Yeah.
Rick Middleton was another guy that was good. I did a lot of his charities, and there was some camaraderie between the comedy scene and especially involving golf and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we were doing benefits left and right. It's the only occupation where people do a show and not get paid.
Yeah.
You can't ask a dentist, by the way, can you do my uppers, and just thank you and walk away. So
Yeah, because I worked with Lyndon Byers for 10 years on WAF, and he was always talking about you guys,
he was
told
big fan,
so many stories that we probably can't tell on the podcast.
We were in a movie together with Lyndon Byers, was Monument Ave, and it was him and who's the guy that does the movies, Chappie.
Oh, Kevin Chapman.
Yeah. And so I was a bartender.
Yeah.
And they were, and this wasn't a movie thing. They did a thing where they had a lit cigarette and put it between their arms, and it was like burn them, and whoever pulled away lost the bet. And the two of them had scars. And Lyndon passed away, but had big scar in their head. They wouldn't stop, and you could smell it. It was like, it's hot. And what was the bet for? We didn't really bet anything. We just said, so it wasn't for money. Yeah. And he played like a tough guy at the bar, and then Chappie. But I still remember that going, phew.
That was a great movie.
Yeah.
Monument Ave.
And he was in Shallow Hal, too.
Yeah. Well,
oh, that's right. With the girl in the chair.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Jackie Flynn was that guy. What's this made out of? Steel?
Well, the edge is better.
we had Kevin Flynn on.
Yeah.
And he told the story about dating the same girl that Cam Neely was dating at the time. Didn't know it.
Right.
And Cam and Lyndon came in and wanted to kick his ass. Yeah. And I think it was Harry Conforti that saved him.
Oh, really?
And said, but yeah. But there was a lot of, do you find Boston's just like a big town? It's not like, it's a city, obviously.
It's a city
Major
with a small
city,
town feel.
But, like, we talked, like, a lot of the Bruins stay here after they finish playing, right?
Yeah.
And Bruins especially, we have more interaction with them. But
Bruins are, what's the word for? They're just down to earth people.
Yeah.
And all the hockey players, most of them didn't come from money, so they're not used to being pampered since they were 6 years old. Right. So whereas in other sports, you're the king of the province, but hockey players have to come from Scrabble and work their way up. So they appreciate things a lot more.
Also, hockey players get punched in the face, and a lot of comedians have the threat of getting punched in the face too. So there's that.
I've had that a couple of times. I've got arrested twice, and doing my own show.
Really?
Oh yeah. I did one at Nick's, and I was doing Evening at the Improv the next day. So I was just doing a guest set, going over what I was going to do the next day, and a group of fellows from Charlestown decided that they wanted their guy to get up, and it was an open mic night, and it turned out the guy was actually auditioning to be a comedian. That was not a very good career move. So a guy comes up on stage, and we get a little bit going at, and this other guy hits me in the back of the head with the chair like this heavy, boom. So now I go down, it's a melee, and it's the cops on duty. We're getting walked out, and I had blood all over my sweatshirt, and I realized it's my blood. So I'm livid. So I had been in a fight on the way out, and I got one of their guys, and they're kicking me in the side, and I turn it over, and they knocked the guy out, kicking him. They thought they were kicking me. So then I get up, and I see the idiot that hit me with the chair, and I went to hit him, and a cop put his face in, and I hit the cop right in the face. Oh. And when I'm leaving, they're in cuffs. They go, "That's the headliner." And I spent the night in jail. And I had to go to evening improv the next day, and I wore Elton John sunglasses because my face was.
Yeah, someone came up on stage and told me to, because I told his wife to shut the fuck up because she wouldn't stop. She's treating it like a wedding. And he came up, and the whole time I'm going, "Don't make me hit you. Don't make me hit you." Because I could see he was drunk. I could see him falling, and then next thing you know, Mike is in trouble, and Giggles is in trouble, and Prince Pizza's in trouble. So the whole time I got my arm cocked going, "Don't make me hit you. Don't make me hit you." And Paul Gilligan came out and took the guy outside. And,
God.
Yeah, that was my only time.
That's I don't know if I should bring this up or not, but do you ever remember throwing a drink in a woman's face?
Have I done that? No.
I was told differently. It was a story in my house growing up that my mom's cousin, my parents used to go to the Ding Ho and the Yaku all the time, and my mom's cousin, she was at the show with my parents, and Lenny Clark wanted to go out with her, and he kept asking her out, and she said no, and then apparently Lenny went over to you and said, this girl won't go out with me. And you were like, "That girl?" And you threw a beer in her face.
No. That story can't be true.
Was it?
No, I would remember that, but no. I'll give you one with Lenny. He's on stage.
There's a few with Lenny, right?
He's on stage, and someone picked up, one of those big glass ashtrays and threw it at him, and it smashed against the wall. And Lenny goes, "Being a comedian, you got to be quick on your feet." And that was it. So now my friend, who was a former football player, taught with him, and so he's irate about the whole thing. Had a few drinks in him, big guy, and he goes over and he goes, "Who threw that?" And somebody says, "Oh, she did." He goes, "Ah." He says, "All right, who's the boyfriend?" And the guy is innocent, And he goes, "I am." He goes, "I got to knock somebody out." And boom, he dropped the guy in one punch. That was it. And the show just kept going.
Never stopped.
I got to knock somebody out.
You did a thing though. I think you told me. You came out in a shower.
Oh, that was silly. Yeah. Well, I was opposite of this weather. It was hot, and again, the only show in town was the Comedy Playhouse there, and so I this is stupid. I went and had the curtains pulled, and I said, "Man, I'm hot." And I had set it up that I had a thing of water and a towel and threw water myself, and I started singing. I had the Edwin Hawkins singing, "Oh, happy day," and I'm singing along, and I opened the curtain, and that's like I had taken a shower, and I grabbed the microphone and blew out the system. Sparks flying everywhere. I went to the ground. It was, we never got it back. The show, everybody had to yell from that point on the show. I think I blew out the Warrington Street, the whole street. Oh my God. I never did that one again.
No, you didn't do that one?
No.
What's your, is there one show that you can think of that's like the show that you, like, not your favorite show, I guess, or, I mean, you've done so many, I know, but maybe,
just, I think it's more, you know this, when you get on a roll and you're really, in your mind, you're not thinking about this, but you're going, "This is going pretty goddamn good,"
Yeah.
So that thing there. It's like I said, people say, "When you bomb, I don't bomb," but a bit might not work. So same thing. When the show just flows, you're just going, you're supposed to do 20, but you could do an hour. Or, I was supposed to do 50, but you're going, shit, 9 minutes. That's not good. I did one, Memphis, the only place they hated me, any place in the United States, they positively hated me. And they had a clock size of Big Ben, and you could actually hear it going, boom, bim, bim, and I'm supposed to do 50 minutes, and I don't wear jewelry. I don't, it's in my head. And so this clock, I couldn't avoid it. I'm looking at my head, and I know I have to do 50. And I go, I've done 12 minutes. Well, that's not good. And I got heckled there before I got on stage. They go, this next guy is from Boston. Boo, Yankees! And I'm going, they hadn't even seen me.
Is this what Colin Quinn felt like?
I could have been a one-legged midget, but no. So I did the thing, and they really disliked me. And so the next day, I said, you know what? I'm going to try to endear myself to the people of Memphis. So I went to Graceland. I don't know if you've ever been there. Graceland?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, don't bother. So it's this garish-looking house. Looks like a house of ill repute with the red velvet and everything like that. And it's cordoned off in those, velvet ropes and stuff like that. And I'm looking around by myself, and this big line. I'm there, and I go, wow, I expected a lot more than this, And the woman in front of me, she goes, shh, 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 respect for the king. I go, he's fucking dead, you know that, right? Right? And then I go inside. It was horrible. And anyway, so that night I go on stage thinking I'm going to say nice things, and they turn on me. The crowd didn't turn on me. They already were against me before I got up. And I said, hey, by the way, I went to that Graceland thing, and apparently he's buried in the backyard. Now, I'm from Boston. We used to do that with like a sparrow when he died. Where'd they get a fucking shoebox big enough for that fat fuck? And then I looked up and I go, well, I got 34 more minutes left. So I took the mic, and this is, a lot of times they didn't even have the cordless mics, but I went around table to table and shit on each table. I went over and just picked on people, which I don't do.
Right.
But I mean, mean, just saying mean shit. Like something about, like I have a big nose. I have a big nose, but holy fuck, look at, whatever. But table to table. Then I go back up 19 more minutes. I still have,
Wow.
So I sang Cockles and Mussels. I started singing song, Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. Yeah. Memphis. I won't be going back to Memphis.
No. That kind of reminds me of how Bill Burr treated Philadelphia.
When
he starts going after the Liberty Bill.
With his ranch, yeah.
What's your favorite bit that you do? And I'll say this before you answer that. There's about 7 of your bits that are my favorite. Like, seriously. And you're one of... There's... how some comedians only can laugh at their own shit. Right?
Yeah.
They're out there. I'm not one of those. And I could watch you, and, you're on the podcast. You're one of my favorite people. I could watch you 10 nights in a row and still piss my pants. And
or maybe you're incontinent.
Not well. I might have that problem too, but not. And it wouldn't necessarily be the same bits,
right?
But like I said, every time coming up here, we're in the drive-thru, and I said sometimes when I hear something, I quote you.
I do it to you all the time.
You do
yes,
it to me
you
all
have.
the time. Yeah. So do you have one of those bits that just like, is your favorite one to tell, or
maybe the things about money in the bank, and it's kind of a long story kind of thing, but not a particular one. I mean, when I first started doing it, we didn't know what we were doing. So I used to do a thing about women and toilet seat covers. Guys never buy, and I used to carry this pink toilet seat cover with me for about 4 years. And then I lost it on a plane. And I said, oh, shit, I can't do that. I said, wait a minute. I'll just say, those toilet seat things? I can just tell them that. I don't need to carry the fucking thing with me. For 4 years, I'm carrying around a toilet seat cover.
You were a prop comic.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
I was. And I used to do this, the Galloping Gourmet. Well, Graham Kerr was his name. One of the first TV shows, cooking shows. And so I did a takeoff of that called The Speeding Chef. And I used to wear a toque, the whole hat, and the apron, and stupid glasses. And, it was freaking amateurish at best, but it always got really big laughs. Until one girlfriend says, if I hear you do that one more time, we're done. That's it. I've had enough of it. So I've never done it since.
She was hot enough that
prop
you
back. That's right.
prop back. I never knew that.
Oh, wow.
I knew the shower story because you told me, but I didn't know you used to carry a toilet seat. You lost it on a plane.
Yeah. And then when they were 3 large, people go, what is this? That's never mind. You don't have to know. Toilet seat. Okay.
It went in the overhead.
Oh, shit.
Who? So, right, like now, who's your comedian that you love to watch?
I like that Sebastian Maniscalco.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And, you know, a couple of years ago, Gary Shandling was a guy I liked who passed away.
Yeah.
But I liked his sensibilities. And Craig Ferguson I liked as a host. I thought he, you know, because he ad-libbed a lot of what
Yeah,
he
yeah.
did,
Yeah.
You know? And I respected that, you know, because he took chances with things, you know.
He was my favorite.
I get to this. I still like Seinfeld, like still, but a lot of these people that supposedly big names, I don't even know who they are. So I don't know. Maybe if I texted, I'd know more. But,
Well, it's just so many now. Like I fit. Like I'm always surprised when I hear of a comedian that's selling out a venue like nearby, and I'm like, how have I never heard of them? Like
Yeah.
I'm all over.
yeah, you would think. Yeah, and like I did the cruise ships. I quit last year, but I did probably 700 or 800 cruises, and people don't understand what we do for a living, you know. And I get this woman going, I saw your show last night. Now that's an odd thing when people say, "Oh, I saw your show," and I'm going, "Did I suck? Was I good?
Yeah.
Was I, you know, yeah, I saw your show. I good." You know, anyway, so she goes, yeah, some of that was funny. I went, oh, thank you. She goes, my nephew is a stand-up comedian from Boston. I said, oh, I must know him. What's his name? Earl Bepidus. You know, and I'm going, I don't know who that is. She goes, well, you know what? He's a professional comedian. He gets paid to do comedy.
Holy shit!
Oh,
And meanwhile, the night before, I just worked 3 crowds of 1,000 people, and I go, so I guess I'm an amateur then? It's funny how 1,000 people showed up, but yeah, he's a professional. That's probably why you don't know him. Thank you.
Weren't you on a cruise one time and someone was talking shit about the comedian the night before?
Oh yeah, I had
And
that.
it was you.
I sit down. So I sit down. When they have the production show, I cannot take them. But anyway, but there was a singer, a good singer, and so I'm there before the show starts. I'm with this older guy, and now I'm the older guy, but I'm talking to him, and I said, "Are you enjoying the cruise?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I like everything." I said, "Except, but I don't really like the shows." And it's like a half hour before the show. I said, well, you're at the show. Why is that? Hey, I paid. You know, I'll see the whole thing. He said, like last night, that comedian. Did you see him? I go, I said, I was the comedian. He goes, I see you saw him? I go, I was the comedian. He goes, so you were there? I go, yes, I definitely was there. And he goes, he's up there, and people are laughing. I don't know what they were laughing at. He goes, I don't even know what the fuck he was talking about. He goes, and they keep laughing. And he goes, so then I try to listen a little bit more, and they're still laughing. He goes, that you know, it's not my cup of tea. And he just kept going, one thing to another. I said, well, that was me. He goes, so you agree with me? I said, no, it was me. I was the comedian. So you were there? I went, yes, I was there. I thought the guy was pretty good. He goes, well, see, that's it. A lot of people thought he was good. Not my cup of tea. I said, just let you know, I stood up, I said, I was the comedian. He said, so you agree with me? I said, well, go fuck yourself. And I walked away. That was it. Yeah.
sounds like that guy didn't know where he was.
No.
How many have you kept track of how many countries you've been to?
153.
I can't even name 153 countries.
151, they didn't want me there, but no. A lot of them I did with the USO. So you go to a place you wouldn't get to go to.
Yeah.
And again, hundreds of cruise ships and stuff. So.
Oh, yeah, they go everywhere. Where's your favorite place?
On a cruise ship, the Greek Islands I love, and Alaska. I've been to Alaska probably 120 times, something like that.
Wow.
So those two would be the two that jump out. But some crazy place. Again, with USO, we got to do stuff. In Saudi, I got to drive a tank on the desert, and they have stabilized it, so you could be going 45 miles an hour, and it's up, but it's smooth inside. And they said to me, he said, now when you get in, everything's metal, so watch, otherwise you might cut yourself. I swear I get in, and immediately ripped my arm. And I had blood, and I thought they weren't going to let me do what I wanted to do, you know. So I'm trying to cover the blood, and the guy goes, "Oh my God, what happened here?" Because I'm on a blood thinner. It wasn't. So I ruined one of their tanks.
You actually drove the tank?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
That was one of the ones we did. And they love showing off all their little toys, and so I got to shoot machine guns and stuff, things like that. But that was probably the most rewarding, doing all those trips for the troops, because they're so thrilled that you're there. It's not like a Bob Hope show where 100 people come in. You know, we'd come in a van, you have a tech and a lighting guy and a sound guy, maybe 3 comedians. That's it, and a driver. And so you can go into places where, I've done shows in 5-star hotels. I've done shows at the back of, a troop carrier, and I've done the aircraft carriers, and, pretty much the whole gamut.
Yeah.
And when I was in Bahrain, I said I was always impressed with the generals, how smart these guys were. And I said, "How many troops do we have here?" And everybody was in bombed out shelters. I estimated 4,000 or 5,000 people. And he goes, "The troops? We don't have any troops here." And I said, "What?" I said, "Well, what's this?" He goes, "I don't know what you're talking about. We don't have troops here." So we have troops a lot of places that people don't know we have them.
Yeah.
When I did Japan, we have 23 U.S. bases in Japan. No one knows that. 23. Yeah, all the way from the top to the bottom of the country. Most of them, they don't want us there, but a few they do. But that's it. So we don't have any troops here, and and I'm guessing 4,000 people. So
Wow.
That was kind of amazing. But they're so respectful and so happy that you came.
Yeah.
And I've never worked with anybody in the USO that didn't say I enjoyed it more than they did.
So talk sports for a second. Cedric Maxwell actually was the first one that brought this up, but your Mount Rushmore of we could go Boston sports, we could go sports in general, we could break it down, per sport. But for Boston, who would you put on your Mount Rushmore for Boston sports?
So I got 4 people?
Yeah.
Well, Ted Williams and the obvious ones, Bobby Orr, and Bill Russell. I saw play a lot, but I don't have him in that capacity, I don't think. Kevin Garnett, in this brief time he had here, was, my favorite Celtic of all time was Dave Cowens.
Oh, yeah.
Because that guy didn't know the word quit, He just was amazing. There's a great story that they were calling the fouls really tight on him, and trying to remember the name of the guy, and he fouled, and he got a technical foul, then he got another foul, and then he ran down the court and threw the guy right to the ground. He goes to the ref. He goes, "Now that's a fucking foul." That was it. But let me see. And in football, well, obviously, Brady.
Brady.
So some of them are easy.
Yeah.
But I think that being in Boston and getting to know some of the people, you grow with an affinity. Like Rick Middleton, I knew as a player, but he was such a sweetheart of a guy too.
Yeah.
So that endears you to it.
Yeah. Former guest.
Yep.
Rick Middleton.
Yeah.
What about? I've said multiple times in this. Who is your GOAT for basketball? Because I know that's your sport.
Yeah.
I think LeBron's a pussy. I've said it multiple times in this podcast, and I don't think he's anywhere near the GOAT. But who would your GOAT be?
Yeah, it would
for
have to be
basketball?
Jordan.
Jordan. Yeah.
Yeah. And but I'm really old school. You go back, people don't remember. Oscar Robertson is in my top 5 of any guy that ever played basketball.
Yeah.
And Jerry West would have been up, from the old time people.
Yep.
But as far as the Celtics, Havlicek, of course. I like people that are consistent, that can last.
Right.
And Cousy. I remember Cousy was nice to my little brother at the time. Just saying how you doing, kid.
Yeah.
And Bill Russell just walked by and snubbed him, so I didn't like Russell since then. But he died, so he never apologized.
So you win.
Check it out.
See, I can't help it. You say things and it makes me think of it. And like I said, so I'll see shoes lined up, and I think a bit about the mosque. I'll just see shoes on the ground, and I'll be like, oh.
Must be an exchange program.
All right, one of my favorites is going down to Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite bits that you do. A lot of Puerto Ricans there.
Yeah, I used to say too many Puerto Ricans, and then somebody called me on that, and they said,
Really?
On the cruise ship, they said, that's offensive. And I brought it back, though. I just said it. I said, if you're offended by that, never. But,
What do you think about this whole offended thing? Like
Oh,
the new
yeah.
age.
Well, I've never done politics. I've never done religion. My stuff is really not sexist. I don't do a lot of that. So it's not, I don't find politics funny because you're going to lose half the audience.
Right.
And I'm not going to convince Josh of my beliefs, and Josh is not going to convince you of his beliefs. So the people get into these heated arguments and go, what are you doing? Who gives a shit? You give a shit. You give a shit. You're on different sides, so leave it alone.
Yeah.
You're not going to convince me, of something.
Yeah, what's it going to change, like right now in this moment? Yeah.
And even, we've had more murders and killings over religion than anything.
Yeah.
And that goes back thousands of years.
Yeah.
Right?
So that thing about, what you can say, what you can't say, I've never had a problem with that.
Yeah. Do you think, but from a kind of just a freedom of speech kind of, I always say we're the last line of freedom of speech, comedians. And even now, like I know in Canada, they've kind of outlawed certain words on stage and stuff. I always say you can say whatever you want, just make sure it's funny.
Yeah. Well, they did it, and Norwegian Cruise Line sent out a missive, 2 pages about what you can and cannot talk about on stage. And they said no ethnic jokes. Now I say if I'm Irish, you can't even do things about the Irish. So, so that was one of the things. And, all the comedians, I guess, kind of, said screw you and continue what they're doing. But nothing to do with religion, nothing about sex and this. I go, you're cutting down to what I can do. And,
right.
And also, if you're offended, well, don't come to the show,
Right.
People come to a comedy show and they're offended. Well, what were you thinking? It's a fucking comedy show,
Yeah.
It's not a religious revival show.
I remember there was a thing out in front of the Comedy Connection at Faneuil Hall. It was like a list of things that you might be offended by, and it just went on.
It was terrific. It was a full page. Please don't come to the show and it included everybody.
Yeah, it was like literally.
If you roll your toilet paper from the top to the bottom, and then down below, if you roll your paper from the bottom to the top.
That's awesome.
And it was right. It was a full page.
What so like going back to the Mount Rushmore of like sports figures in Boston, if you had to pick like the perfect show lineup that you were going to put together for comedians in Boston, like present, past, living, dead, who would you put on like your perfect like stand-up show?
No, it'd be difficult to get it down to a few people. Again, when I started, there were so many people that, like Jim Morris, you don't probably know who he is, but he used to do impressions, and he did a lot of stuff with Tonight Show, whatever. This Jack Galgo I mentioned a number of times, and Paula Poundstone, and this, I don't know, there's probably 30, 40 people that came out of Boston, so
yeah.
It's tough to say one specific. I mean, I'm tight with certain people now, and there are certain guys that I could watch. I can watch over and over again, So it would be tough for me to delineate. Yeah,
probably changes day to day.
Yeah.
Well, there's so many too.
Yeah.
Like when you think of, I remember going to Nick's when I was in freshman year in college, and the lineup would be insane.
Yeah.
And now looking back on it, but it would be you, Lenny, Kenny, then you'd throw in like Jay Leno, Paula Poundstone.
Right.
It was just, at the time you didn't know. It was just what we got.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, every city must be like this. And now being in the business, you look back and go, holy fuck.
Yeah. Like when my parents are telling me about all the Aku shows they went to and Fresh Pond and like the just all the Dick Doherty rooms and stuff that they went to, and the Ding Ho and Giggles and stuff. I'm like not Giggles back then, but the amount of people. I'm like, you just saw like comics come home every single night.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if a new Chinese restaurant opened up, I go, well, that's another comedy club.
What is it with Chinese restaurants?
I don't know. I mean, also, for about 20 years, I didn't know you could date a woman if she wasn't a waitress. I thought that was a law.
That checks out.
I try to cover a lot of cities in that, too.
You've been all 50 states, right? Have you been to
I've
all
worked
50?
in every one except North Dakota. And I try to go to, when I was working in South Dakota, I try to go to North Dakota just to get on stage to say that I've worked in, and I couldn't find a venue to do it. I was going to put a hat out and, like in Faneuil Hall, like Jimmy Tingle. But, I didn't
It was
get
too
around.
cold. That state.
But North Dakota, I've never worked there.
Yeah. Wow. 49 states. I've been to 47. I haven't performed in anywhere near that many. But that's a cool thing.
We got to put a show together in North Dakota.
We could,
Yeah, that's right.
we could take a road trip to North Dakota.
Yeah.
Right? There's nothing out there. I've been in North Dakota.
I've been to South Dakota.
Yeah. Fargo is where I went.
Yeah.
And it was always a blizzard.
They should make a movie about that.
Yeah, they should. Well, Gav, I can't. I mentioned this to Gino, who's not here. But in hockey terms, as far as refereeing, you're Andy Van Hellemond to me. And Andy was my boss in the East Coast League. I think one of the best ref in the history of refereeing. And Gino was like, because he's not a comic. He knew who you were. And I said, Don's like my Andy Van Hellemond when it comes to refereeing. I go, that's why. And he's like, oh, all right. Like, he got that. But for me, the funniest person I've ever seen live.
Yeah.
And
What about
I say
Dead?
that to everyone. Who?
What about Dead?
Dead too.
Yeah,
Dead
okay,
too. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah. Well, I'm not trying to push you there.
Oh, okay.
I'm driving you today, so you got to be careful. You might jinx us.
No, I'd probably say me too. The funniest person I've seen do comedy. There was just one. It was the first time I saw you live, and it was at Giggles Comedy Club, maybe like 10, 15 years ago. And I just remember you had a punchline. I don't remember what it was. It was. I don't remember what the joke was, but I know the line was something about a dog, and I just remember losing all control of like strength in my body, and I just laid down on the table. It was just like, and his dog walked in, and I just lost all.
I know the
I know.
bit.
You do? I forget it.
Did I get as a pet, the dog?
Yeah, he's in the living room in front of the fireplace licking himself, and then the dog walks in. I think I could probably go up and do your act.
If I'm sick, I'll call
And,
you. You can fill in.
And I can actually sound like you, too. I think I do a pretty good impression. I don't know.
I don't know. Some people try to do me. I go, who's that supposed to be?
But yeah, no, it's an honor to have you on the
Oh,
podcast.
cool.
'Cause
I
it's-
enjoyed
Yeah,
it.
no.
Thank you.
No, it's
Maybe we'll do it again and I'll discuss classical music.
that's a different
You do
podcast.
1 minute shows at all?
Well, it's seriously, as far as helping me as a comedian, you by far have
Well,
helped me
thank
more
you.
than anyone.
Back at you.
Seriously, and it is an honor to have you here, and I've been wanting you to come on for a while, but you moved to Florida.
I was just wondering, do I get paid now or?
The check will be in the mail. You have received my last payment.
I'm gonna
Didn't I already give you a quarter zip? Didn't you already get a shirt?
Yeah, I got a T-shirt out of you. That was it.
That's our
Not even
payment.
a long sleeve one either.
I can get you a sweatshirt.
Do
so
they
you
come in
keep
men's
you warm.
sizes?
It's the same payment he got for doing Shallow Hal too.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, without performing, I think I'd be naked. So.
Got to take 2 pennies out for taxes. But.
Well, Don Gavin.
All right, thank you. Thank you, guys.
We love
Thanks,
having
Josh.
you. Thank you. And I think I don't know if we can top you, to be honest with you, comedian wise.
Oh, I'm sure you can.
Well, I don't know. I think some of the ones that might are dead, to be honest with you. So, no, we love you and appreciate
Thanks again.
you. All right, Don Gavin. So that'll do it for episode 95. Don Gavin, like we said, just a fantastic guest.
Yeah, it was awesome. I just love talking about the history of Boston. Like the history of Boston comedy, because we live around it. There's so much that, like, the guys that are at the top of the mountain in comedy, like a lot of them started around here, and we're in the middle of it. And it's just, I'm a history nerd and also a comedy nerd, and it's cool to be able to talk about that kind of stuff, even though it's a hockey podcast. But you know,
You're pretty much a nerd no matter what.
Yeah.
We're off to a great start. 2026.
we are.
Albie, Gav.
Albie, your
and
hair's looking on point.
My hair's always on
Your
point.
feet, too. Did you get a pedicure?
I did.
Yeah.
I did get a pedicure
I know you
recently.
did.
And you know what? Fantastic.
Did you get the little fish on your feet, too?
You know what? She does this special sauce stuff. I don't know what it is. She rubs it.
I don't
with
think that's
hot
part of the
stones.
deal, but that's
No. It's it's in Quincy, but they only do the feet. So
So you've asked.
maybe. Well, I want to remind you to like and subscribe on YouTube. Definitely follow us on the social medias, the Instagram, the Facebook, and of course,
The TikTok.
thank you, Josh, filling in for Gino Binder Jr. Also, find us online, chirpingzebras.com if you want to get some merch. We got the sweatshirts. We got a bunch of stuff out there.
We
T-shirts,
got yoga
hats.
pants coming, maybe.
Yoga pants. We're still working on the yoga pants.
Yeah. Those are a tough design.
They are, and you need the right model.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
We want to get it right.
We're in search of the right model. So if you're a model, reach out. These endings always take a turn.
Yeah, they do.
And you can find Josh on TikTok.
Yep.
He's always on TikTok live.
Rolling with Dolan.
Rolling with Dolan. And you can find me at markrileycomedy.com or on any of the socials. Come out to see a show. Would love to have you. So, want to thank our sponsors, too. We want to thank Referees Crease. We want to thank Damon Financial, LLC, and also Townsend Hockey. And a huge thanks to AOA Studios, who does such a great job up here. We love working with them. So until next time for episode 95, Mark Riley, Josh Dolan, and in for Gino Binder Jr., we'll see you next time right here on the Chirping Zebras.